Hey there, it's Kennedy. I'm with Matt Bellamy from Muse, or do I have to call you Matthew?
You can call me Matt, please.
Okay, good. Oh, I was hoping it wasn't going to be formal. When are you going to be Sir Matthew Bellamy?
Oh
What does that take?
what does that take? I've no idea. I think you have to kiss the Queen's ass a little bit. I'm not sure. At some
Nice.
point I might do that when I get a bit old and I don't know. But
She's
I'm not-
loosening up a
I'm
little.
not quite ready for it yet. Maybe I'll wait until William takes over.
So the second law, is that in reference to the second law of thermodynamics
It is indeed, yeah.
and entropy?
Yes.
And there's no such thing as a self-perpetuating machine.
You know your stuff. I love it.
Well, I asked because that's the first thing I thought when I read that, because oftentimes the second law of thermodynamics is invoked when people talk about evolution.
Yeah.
Is it in any?
It's 100% in that ballpark, yeah.
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
what is your take on that?
Well, when we were making the album, I was the news all the time was obsessed with all this like economic crisis stuff, and I just
Yeah.
became interested in what's behind all that, and I became interested a little bit in energy dependency and all that kind of stuff. Which I remember like back in the 90s, I remember someone talking about peak oil and all that kind
Yes,
of thing.
the peak oil crisis.
Peak oil, yeah, and they said peak oil will be 2010, 2011. And I always remember that date, and then you see all these economic crises going on, especially in Europe, this banking crisis, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I thought, hold on, is it that that's actually happening, but no one's talking about it, you know? So it just reminded me of all that energy stuff, and I started reading about, reminding myself of what stuff in school about thermodynamics, and the second law being about how closed systems always will create entropy.
Yeah.
Not that we're closed systems, but obviously our solar system is a closed system. And
But you can't apply that to it seems theoretically to economic systems.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. I was going with the idea that our bodies, obviously, the planet and the sun and so on, stars and all that, are genuinely declining in energy. You know, and I feel like our life, human life, you know, and also evolution, is in some ways a battle against that, that inevitable end. You know, it's like
Yes.
it's an interesting thing about life. It's what makes life so ridiculously unique is that we seem to be going contrary to the laws of thermodynamics. You know, in the case of the second law. So the album is pretty much about that kind of. That battle, you know. So there's a few songs that talk about the economic side. You know, songs like Animals, Second Law Part 1, Part 2 maybe is a bit about that, and songs like Explorers in particular is about energy dependency. There's other songs like Survival and Supremacy, which talk more about the kind of singing about just sort of the personal struggle. Like Survival is like, obviously we all want to survive, and sometimes it's that energy that we have inside us that makes us want to survive against whatever. You know, sometimes the worst situations can bring out the strongest desire to survive in us. So the album's kind of about that, really, just about how we seem to be battling against the second law. You know?
So the Olympics, Survival. Did
Yeah.
you write that with the Olympics in mind? That is the official song of the 2012 Olympic Summer Games.
Oh, come on, that can't be right. That song was kind of, I think we're just talking about some of the album concepts. You can see it kind of links in with the album a little bit, but as we were writing it, as we started rehearsing the album, the Olympics approached us to write a song for the Olympics, and we didn't really think much of it at the time because we didn't know if we could do that or if we were available to do that. But the song Survival that we already were working on seemed like it could work, because the song was kind of singing about, and the track was kind of trying to get in touch with this like extreme kind of almost absurd, irrational desire that we have to survive against any problems that come our way, and I kind of felt like there could have been a link maybe with the focus, the extreme focus that athletes have when they get in, they have to tap into that sort of R complex part of the brain that wants to just survive no matter what. So for that reason, we played the song to them. They really liked it. I mean, it's hard for me to say that it was written for the Olympics. It was I would have written.
Are we channeling?
Yeah, I would have written the song anyway.
Yeah.
But not knowing the Olympics was there, I can't tell. In hindsight, I don't know if it would have come out any different. It may have been exactly the same, or it might have been slightly toned down. I don't know.
And this is something that when I hear a voice like yours, it seems like it's so difficult to sustain that upper register. So A, how has your voice changed over the years? And B, do you do anything like funky and crazy and creepy to maintain it?
The other thing I do that's crazy and creepy is I have when I'm on tour, I have one of those little, the Vicks inhalers,
Humidifiers,
the
yeah.
humidifiers, yeah. And sometimes my tour manager comes through and I'm going, and I'm speaking like Darth Vader, and he just goes, he said it wigs him out. He says it reminds me of that film Blue Velvet or something, And so that's the only thing that I do that's a bit weird. Aside from that, though, I don't know. I think maybe because of my size, I've been naturally okay with a high voice,
Now, I saw Jack White recently, and this is really interesting because I talked to him a little bit before the show, and he said that he doesn't have a set list. On this solo tour, he doesn't have a set list, and he said, you'll notice, like, the drummer, they'll just fill a little bit while I'm yelling at them, and he just, like, he's calling an audible every single song. Would you ever do something like that? I mean, could you imagine Just a free for all of Muse songs.
I think we could do that if we weren't doing like a kind of like an arena concert with all the gear and everything. You know,
Yeah.
the problem is.
Oh, that would drive lighting people crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We have all this like sometimes we have like these moving things going on, all the crew and all that stuff. It's like a military operation sometimes doing a concert, you know. But I do like the idea of doing a gig where we had a bit more freedom to just do whatever we want in terms of not having to structure it out so much. You know?
I mean, would you think about doing smaller shows? I know that might be grounds for a riot, but
No, we'd love to. Yeah, I'm sure we would. At some point, I'm sure when the when our career goes south, maybe we'll be back in there.
No, you could do
We'll
secret shows.
Yeah, well, I'd love to do. Yeah, there you go, secret shows. That's what everyone seems to do. Maybe we should do a few of those. The only problem is we had so much bloody gear, we can't fit it in.
Now, Panic Station, and I hope you don't get mad because when you hear something for the first time, especially as a civilian, like your brain wants to like latch on to the familiar, right?
Yeah.
So I heard, and please don't be upset, I heard the Eagles' Life in the Fast Lane and Thriller. Am I wrong?
Oh no, there's definitely an 80s an 80s sort of twinge on that one. Totally, yeah. I mean, we were like, I think we were getting in touch with the music. If my influence was probably Teen Wolf, you know the film Teen Wolf.
Oh yes.
there was like I loved the soundtrack for Teen Wolf, and I remember watching it. I saw it again shortly before making the film, and also Ghostbusters as well. Those kind of classic 80s fun films.
Oh
you know.
yeah, with the big
slap bass,
theme songs.
big great backing vocals, and of course the brass
That's
section.
the first thing I wrote. Strong bass.
Yeah, and then the funk brass, the pop brass in the background. You know, it was like that was our full, like for me it was like 80s fun film kind of soundtrack really.
Did you try and do anything different vocally on this album?
A few songs. I'd say you were talking about Panic Station. That one I sang quite differently. I sang like with a handheld microphone, like, and I was sort of like I was almost like as if I was on stage, you know, like jumping around and sort of really having fun with that one. With Madness, I was singing through like a really old vintage microphone, like one of these RCA ribbon things about this big, you know, like, and I was like literally on it, touching it to get a really kind of close sound. I don't know really. A couple of songs like Survival, I was really going for it, I definitely hit some of the highest notes I've ever sung on this album. Madness, actually, the end of that song is my highest.
Yeah,
it's the highest note I've ever sung in a full range. Yeah,
that's the build. I mean, that's the beautiful acceptance. Well, the second law, go get it, sucker. Entropy all the way.